These tires, see, this is what I'm talking about. These tires love to just, these tires like just fuck traction is what they're saying. That wasn't even full throttle. That was half throttle, and I started spinning the wheels so bad I had to let off. This car has got some crazy torque. It's got fuck all in terms of horsepower, but when it comes to torque, half throttle is fun. It's peppy as fuck. You can spin the wheels, and it gives you some good loud noise, and that's at half throttle. And it actually has made me stop and think. When I used to live out in the country, where you just, hey, there's a nice old truck. I used to live out in the country where you had long, empty stretches with no traffic, so you just fucking gunned it everywhere. First gear, and you know, you were hard down a lot. Now that I live in the city, you can't really be hard down, especially in an old car like this, where first fucking gear goes all the way up to like 50, 60 miles an hour. So you really have to be happy with half throttle. And in this peppy as fuck car, I'm very happy with half throttle. But, oh hey, some snow. But because I've been here so long and I've been happy with half throttle, it occurred to me the other day that I can count on one hand the number of times I've actually put this to the floor and gunned it in a straight line. Military vehicles next to a park. I bet the kids love that. Yeah, so it's made me wonder, do I baby my Trans Am? Like, am I actually one of those people that doesn't push their car to the max? It's just like, I'm driving around and I'm being cautious and I'm not using any more power than I need. And then it's like, have I become one of these people? Like when I put the new transmission in and they're like, you're gonna have to be gentle on it. I was like, I'm not a gentle driver. Am I gonna tear my transmission apart? And then, I'm now having to look at it and like, well, you know what? Shit, get traction! See, even that was half throttle and I was losing traction and had to let off. But yeah, I've come to a point where I have to wonder, is like, am I actually like not being that aggressive a driver? Like, if you ask my stepfather, I'm a crazy, reckless, vehicle-killing nut job with a heavy lead foot. And I always assumed that, you know, I wasn't so much a nut job, but I definitely had a heavy left foot. And the truth is, I'm really not pow-ohing this thing, so do I have that heavy of a lead foot? And I mean, let's face it, the reality is, yeah, I've got a lead foot. I've just adapted to living in a city. And in the country, a lead foot means you're on the floor all the time. In the city, a lead foot means you're at half throttle or a little bit higher whenever you can. And, yeah, so the end result is, yeah, in terms of the way I drove in the country, I definitely baby my cars in comparison. The reality of it is, though, that I do not, by any circumstances, baby my cars. Like, I am an aggressive, hard-down driver, and I drive the shit out of my cars. But the reality is, with every car I've gotten, up until my Camaro, I drove like I got more and more pussy each, it's checking out the whip. But, yeah, like with my Impala, I took the rev limiter off, I took the speed limiter off, and I ripped the shit out of that car. I didn't go anywhere. Like, when I was driving to and from work, I was doing it 170 kilometers an hour on a back road every single day. Never even thought about it. 170, 105 miles an hour, just ripping the shit out of that car. And I would drive that car until the fucking coolant melted. And on more than one occasion, I overheated the shit out of that Impala because I drove it so hard the fucking coolant would evaporate. And then when I got my Cadillac, the first time I drove it, I got it up to 230, no wait, I got it up to 130 miles an hour. So this is 210. And then I ran out of road, and honestly, after that, I never drove it that fast or that hard again. I could smell the coolant. And then, yeah, like with the Cadillac, by the time I sold the Cadillac, like the second year of owning that Cadillac, I never even got close to 100 miles an hour. I remember in the second year driving it, I got up to 100 miles an hour racing a guy, and I was like, wow, that's the fastest I've been in this car in a really long time. So in comparison to the Impala, I babied the fuck out of that Cadillac, and we all know, if you've seen my videos, I did not baby that car. So then I got my Camaro. And the first year I got that Camaro, I babied the shit out of it. I did maybe like one fucking burnout in the whole year. I did not drive the car hard. I babied that Camaro. But towards the end of the first year, I started doing heavy burnouts. And then come the second year, I was doing motherfucking drifts in that Trans Am. Or sorry, that Camaro. I was driving the fuck out of it. Hardcore every day, all day, driving it like I stole it. And then when I got my SUV, it was $500 and it wasn't my Camaro, so it was a car I really did not care about. Oh ho ho ho! Losing some traction! So yeah, I really didn't care about the SUV, so it was half and half. I took that thing on every dirt trail I could find. I was constantly trying to get it stuck in the mud. If I saw something I thought I could drive over, I drove over it. I took it to like piles of rocks and hills and shit, and just, I'd constantly beat on that thing, crashing it into snowbanks, mountain stuff. I was very rough on that, but at the same time, it had no balls. It had trouble getting up to 80 miles an hour. So I never really went hard down it. Actually, that's a lie. Every time I hit a hill, I was hard down on that piece of shit because you had to be in order to get it up the fucking hill. But in terms of actually going fast, I did not go fast in that SUV. I did not go fast. I guess when I drove it up on the freeways to get up to Sudbury, I'd be doing 130 miles an hour, yeah, right. I'd be doing 130 kilometers an hour, and that's 80 miles an hour. But it was slow getting up there, and I didn't go any faster than that. I was just in cruise control, 80 miles an hour. And there's a big load. And yeah, I never really, I didn't do much racing with it. And it was because the thing was slow. But I really didn't spend a lot of time, like I didn't drive down the back roads doing 100 miles an hour. I didn't rip the shit out of the throttle every chance I got. And then it was the same when I got the, actually it was, fuck bro. It was the exact opposite when I got the Mercury. The Mercury I didn't give a flying fuck about. It was a piece of shit, and I didn't like it. I thought I would until I realized just how fucking poor a performer that Ford motor is in that car. So I was really disappointed with it, and I drove the shit out of that thing. Didn't realize it was a merge. That was my bad. He was right to honk at me. And, but yeah, I drove the shit out of that Mercury. Like, when I was on the freeway, I was literally hitting the red... Whoa! signaling right. Fucking idiot. Has her left fucking signal on, cut in front of me, turn it. Yeah, what the fuck? You know, whenever I do something wrong, God comes around and vindicates me by getting somebody else to do something even wronger. That's a lot of train tracks. Normally there's trains blocking this, so I never realized there was that many tracks here. And the water looks so good. I wish I had a boat. Cadillac Kid wants to be nautical. I really do. But yeah, like I remember the first time I drove that Mercury up to Sudbury, I didn't go above 80 miles an hour. I didn't try to aggressively pass people. I cruise controlled the whole way. But then on the way down, I got challenged to race by a Honda Accord, an Infiniti SUV, and an Infiniti sedan that were all racing together, and I wasn't going to let them beat me, so I showed them what American power can do, and I whooped their asses, and I was doing 110, 120 miles an hour for like an hour, like not even an hour, like 2 fucking hours. I had that Mercury fucking maxed out. I beat the shit out of that Mercury, and the end result, it fucked me right over, because by the time I ended up needing that V8 to tow my trailer to move to Halifax, it was completely destroyed. Like, it was flat out completely fucked. And that's why it was so difficult. The hell was that? Jesus fucking idiot. That's why it was so difficult. Oh, I'm in the wrong lane. Damn it! And that's why it was so difficult getting here, because the car was completely fucked. What a cockface. And, yeah, the end result was I definitely rode that Mercury hard, because I killed it. I killed that engine by being way too hard on it. First, I was always doing donuts in it. I was always high RPM in it. Old Mercedes, signaling for no reason. I was always hard down on it. And then, to make matters worse, I then tried to pull 3,800 pounds with it. A car rated to tow 2,000 pounds. I was pulling a 3,800 pound trailer. And yeah, in the end, I murdered that Mercury. So definitely in comparison to the way I drove my Impala, which handled it, by the way, versus the Mercury, which did not, it died. Like, both those cars I drove the shit out of. GM came out on top, FYI. I drove the shit out of those 2 cars and killed one of them. The other one survived. And then I babied my Cadillac, which died. And then I sort of babied my SUV, which is, I really missed that thing. That thing was bulletproof. And then I started out babying my Camaro, and before I got a little more and more aggressive with my Camaro. Before I actually got to a point where I was full out thrashing that Camaro, I had to sell it. And the Trans Am, in comparison to my other cars, I'm gonna have to say, yeah, I do actually, in respect to the way I normally drive, Purple House, I actually do kind of baby this car, which is really surprising, because I am not the kind of person to baby a car, but definitely in comparison to the way I drive my other cars. I definitely drive it a lot lighter than I drive my other cars. And in fairness, I think a big chunk of why I do that is this car can't handle it. Like, as you saw when I cut off that Subaru Impreza, and right there when I was trying to gun it, the carburetor bogs down under hard gas, and it starts to flood, and then it dies and loses power. So I kind of can't really give it hard to this car because it just will die. It's just like, fuck it, nope, not doing that. Kiss my ass. I'm not a Ford, you gotta treat me right. Which is a little disappointing because obviously I'm a hard driver, as we all know from watching my videos. I like going fast. I like hearing that V8 rumble. But unfortunately, I kind of haven't had the best streak with cars. Like this thing, the transmission gave me so many problems when I first got it. I couldn't pow it, and now that the transmission's fine, it can't really handle being powered. The carburetor just wants to fucking. See, now we're finally getting some acceleration. And I'm going like 40 over the limit, so I gotta slow down. So yeah. Uh-oh, that might be smoke coming out from under the hood. Either that or my window is just dirty as fuck. Can't really tell. You know your window's dirty when you're not entirely sure if it's your window being dirty or smoke coming out of the car. But yeah, I guess in terms of my other cars, I do actually baby this car a bit, which is a good thing because it means it'll last longer. But being a petrol head or a gearhead or whatever the fuck we call them on this side of the pond, I'm gonna take that the wrong way. And what I should be thinking is like, hey, I'm being responsible and I'm treating my car right and it's gonna last. And I'm not going to need to replace it, and yay, car survival and longevity and whatnot is how I should be taking it. But being a petrol head, I'm going to take it completely the wrong way and be like, I need to be harder on my car. I'm not getting the full level of enjoyment. I need to thrash it, and, you know, gear drops and flat to the floor and donuts and so yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, yeah, I honestly have been babying this Trans Am. And winter's not the time to start thrashing. You don't need an unreliable car when you're going to freeze to death if it dies. So, I think, come summertime, if I still have this thing, if I haven't wrapped it around a pole or slid into the ocean or sold it, come summertime, I am going to thrash the fuck out of this car. Like, when I bought it, it took, with the transmission problems, I couldn't take it to the track. This summer, I'm going to try. If I can't take it to the track this summer, I'm going to be seriously fucking pissed. Because when I moved out here, my biggest fucking goal was hitting up that track, no matter what piece of shit I was driving. And then I had one car that couldn't do better than 40 kilometers an hour without dying, so I couldn't take that to the track. And then I had this thing with a transmission that you couldn't put any power to without it exploding, so I couldn't take this to the track. And it's been one shitty disappointment after another. And come summertime, I better be able to take this to the track, set some lap times, hoon the fuck out of it, or I'm going to be severely pissed off. That's actually a terrific mural, though. Look at it. Although I'm seeing all those lights around an empty field and I'm thinking donuts. I'm not thinking soccer. Fuck soccer. I want to go do donuts in that field.